I could not believe what I heard Coach D'Anton Lynn say. Could not believe it. I'm still in shock.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network. Your first listen every day, whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you want to download your podcast. This show is always free, and this show always appreciates your support. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and it's 100% playable offline. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all capital letters, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. Question. All right. I'm still trying to digest what I heard this morning when I was on the Zoom call with Coach D'Anton Lynn, as well as Coach Riley, who followed right after him. Was Coach Riley gaslighting everyone after spring camp when he said that USC needed more interior help for the defensive line? We got to get out there. That's one of our primary needs. Got to find some guys in the transfer portal. Was he being truthful? I'm being sarcastic, okay? Some of you who watch the show, I'm not sure you've sensed my personality. Haven't picked up yet. A lot of what I say is tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic, devil's advocate stuff. Anyways, play along. Look, Nate Clifton was already in the fold when Coach Riley made that statement. He went through spring camp. I don't even think Gavin Meyer was on anyone's radar yet. I've told everyone who watches and listens to the show how well UCLA played defense in 2023. The way I've talked about it, there was some envy involved, a little bit of jealousy, because I knew in 2023 that USC had better talent than UCLA across the board. It's not even an up for question, really. Be honest. Yeah. Now, yes, UCLA might have some good players here and there, like a Liatu Latu, but overall, USC had far better talent across the board. Their issue for USC in defense last year, scheme. It was X's and O's. It had nothing to do with the Jimmies and the Joes. But when you watched USC and UCLA play, the Bruins were winning the battle in the trenches. And before that game, UCLA was winning the battle in the trenches, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, did you know this little factoid? USC allowed 106 more yards rushing per game than UCLA. USC's rushing defense last year, they allowed almost 4.8 yards per attempt, 4.79. UCLA, half that, 2.65. That is an amazing number. I don't care if it's UCLA. I don't care where they're playing. That's a solid number. Thursday morning, ahead of our Zoom call with Coach Riley, we spoke with Coach D'Anton Lynn on Zoom. He took a handful of questions for about 7 minutes, made up for the time that we didn't get with him after practice on Wednesday this week. And Coach Lynn was asked about the similarities and the differences on the defensive lines between last year's Bruin squad and this year's USC team. He said this: the similarities are with the number of guys who can slide around and play multiple positions. That's a big core component of D'Anton Lynn's scheme. He wants guys who can stay on the field, doesn't have to substitute in and out depending on run versus pass. The difference is, he continued, that this USC team is actually deeper with interior players who can contribute. A what? I mean, if you're old enough to remember this, what you talking about, Willis? Where did that come from? But it's true. The Trojans have at least 6 guys who can play inside that are going to rotate in throughout the game. You know, you got Bear Alexander. He's the constant. I mentioned Nate Clifton, the transfer who came over from Vanderbilt. I mentioned Gavin Meyer, who showed up after spring camp, late April, early May. Well, he's already made an impression with the coaching staff. And then you've got, second-year players, Elijah Hughes. You've got Devin Tompkins, who's been around. This is his third camp. Kobe Pepe, who's been around forever. Those 6 guys are going to be playing a lot. That's who Coach Lynn is referring to. You might have noticed, of those 6 names, I didn't mention the freshmen. Those first guys off the bus. Do not mention Jide Abasari. Do not mention Carlon Jones. Do not mention Rachimana Bulabalabu. Let's assume for game 1, okay, we're going to assume, not reporting anything officially, that they're not ready yet for game 1. So typically that means those guys are going to be on the scout team this week. So I mentioned the other day when I said, what are my concerns? What concerns do I have left for USC heading into game 1? And I said the D-line, that concern has been reduced significantly. And it's because my untrained eyes liked what they've seen so far throughout fall camp, but also what I saw during the the scrimmage game, the situation that they had last Saturday that the media was invited to attend that I haven't reported on. So again, it's not just their size. That's not the only thing that's really impressed me. What I saw in that scrimmage, it really gave me a good sense of what's possible with this team, with that defensive line. Speaking of the defensive line, USC's defensive staff, they're not making life any easier for Anthony Lucas this year, and nor should they be. When you're a 5-star coming out of high school, USC wanted him. He ended up going to Texas A&M. Look, people anticipate you playing at a certain level. People want to see a return on their, NIL as well as their emotional, their rooting investment, their rooting interest involvement. If you're going to be that guy or be considered that guy, you got to play like it, right? So just like last year, again, happening this season, there's a lot of Anthony Lucas talk going on. Players and coaches cannot keep him out of their mouth. After every practice, every report, either a coach or a player, they're talking up Anthony Lucas. So as long as they are, I'm going to continue to talk it up. I'm going to let you know what everybody's saying. Coach Lynn said Lucas has had a really great summer, right? He's made a huge jump, and he's actually ahead of where they thought he'd be, where he left spring camp and where he's starting fall camp. Here's the thing. I heard all this last year. I heard it all. Can't believe what this guy with his size, what he's capable of doing. What did he end up doing last year? He finished the season with 10 tackles. That's not what a 5-star is supposed to do. 10 tackles is like a game. If you're having a really solid game, that's what a 5-star will do. Oh, by the way, did you hear Lucas had 10 tackles in the game? Did you hear Lucas finished a 12-game season with 10 tackles? Can't have that. Coach Lynn wasn't at USC last year. But again, this is what he said when we were talking to him during our Zoom call this morning. He said he saw a change from Lucas from the spring to the fall. When I got here, I think Lucas was aware that he has a lot of potential that he hasn't tapped into yet. He's been locked in since I got here. He had a good spring, but he had a great summer. You can tell he really put in a ton of work in June and July because when we started camp, he didn't just pick up where we left off. He was ahead of where we ended in the spring. And he's had a tremendous camp. He's playing the pass better, playing the run better. And again, he's a guy with the versatility we can do a bunch of different things with, end quote. That versatility translated means he's going to play on the outside, play that rush end, strong defensive end, one of those two, but they could probably slide him inside as well. Think of Tuli Tuipulotu. He was such a beast for USC that year. He led the country in sacks. What was it, 14 and a half? He was really good. But you can line him up wherever, outside, inside. USC should have a Tuli every single year. In fact, they should have two of those every single year. Lucas is going to be one of those guys this year. He has to be. This is what his teammate Nate Clifton said. His motor is probably second to none. We need a guy like that on our team. We need to resemble that each and every play. So again, as long as Bear Alexander lets Coach Henny, bring out the best in him, we're hearing good things. Again, it's just talk right now. And the other guys that I mentioned, Gavin Meyer, Nate Clifton, Elijah Hughes, Devin Tompkins, Kobe Pepe. As long as that crew contributes, plays 110% every snap, backs up what Coach Lynn is talking about, then I'm going to have even more confidence that Lynn is going to be able to turn this ship around. And you know what? I think maybe the word is starting to spread. I don't think the smart people in the world think that USC is going to be an easy game for LSU anymore. That betting line that started at 6.5 for USC, for LSU, it's now down to 4.5. Yeah. That means, I guess, the smart people who set these lines, who set these betting lines, they're getting some intel that wants, say, hey, you know what? We need to shift the money around. Well, I have a feeling this is going to be a little bit smaller of a point spread by the time kickoff rolls around. It's dropped 2 points this week. You got, 9 more days until USC and LSU kick off in Las Vegas. College football has never seen a Lincoln Riley team with a good defense. Forget having a serviceable defense. Coach Lynn has set the bar a little bit higher now. College football has seen USC when they have both. Pete Carroll made boring football look fun, exciting. If you watched if you watched yesterday's episode of Locked on USC, you know exactly what I'm referring to when I say USC needs to be more boring on offense. Go watch it. So look, if Coach Riley wants to pick Pete Carroll's brain, and he said he's actually looking forward to it, stick around for my Friday rant. I'm going to touch a little bit more on Pete Carroll because Coach Riley spoke about what I talked about on yesterday's episode. Pete Carroll's back. He's working for USC again. That'll be in the third segment. Coming up in the next segment, who are USC's team captains in 2024? Hey, Locked on USC fans. I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love. It's called The Ultimate College Football Head Coach. I just asked the question, imagine you're Pete Carroll. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Trojans? You're Pete Carroll, you're Lincoln Riley. From recruiting players and hiring a coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handing out scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. You'll be able to can you handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling the offensive plays during the game. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked on USC fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all capital letters, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as well as get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit the ultimate-cfb.com. Again, ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. The college football season is back. It is back, and it's not too late for you to catch up on everything before the season kicks off. Yeah, if you're an SEC fan, an ACC fan, Big 10, Big 12, doesn't matter. You can get it all from Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoffs? What teams will cause chaos in their conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Salute to Troy is this weekend. What is Salute to Troy? People think, what's Salute to Troy, Mark? Now, if you're new, just becoming a new Trojan family member, it's a preseason USC football celebration of sorts. It's for the fans. You get to meet the team. You're going to pay a little bit of money. It's a donation. You get to show up, eat some barbecue. You get to take get some autographs from the team, take pictures, get some selfies. Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. Good way to spend some time getting to know the players. Remember, they are real people. And I'm using the term very loosely. Some of them are still kids. Some of them are young enough to be your own kids, your grandkids. So keep that in mind. Yeah, we want them to be championship level college football players, but they're still learning how to grow into their bodies, develop as young men. That's what you're going to be if you're going to Salute to Troy. Check them out. Look at them from that perspective. So again, it's Salute to Troy. It's a networking type of function. Friends, family get together, alums. They're going to pass the NIL tithing plate around. Guarantee it. You'll be asked to make a donation to House of Victory. But you're also going to be entertained. Spirit of Troy will be there performing a concert. And Lincoln Riley, the Song Girls will be there doing Song Girl stuff. And then eventually Lincoln Riley will be there up on stage, microphone in hand, team lined up behind him, introducing the team. And usually the team captains are named. There we go. That's what we're talking about this segment. Who are going to be USC's team captains in 2024? Who's going to wear the hat? I'm going to give you two. I think these are probably no-brainers. Ironically, no pun intended, no-brainers. These guys are the brains of the team. I think Miller Moss, Jonah Monheim. Typically, you want your quarterback to be a team captain, and I know that's one of the things that Coach Riley values a lot. His quarterback has to be the team leader. Once you've earned Coach Riley's trust, you've earned the right to be USC's starting quarterback, and we know Miller Moss is USC's starting quarterback this year. Jonah Monheim, I think enough said. He is one of the most cerebral guys on the team, period. Miller Moss is known as the brain. Jonah Monheim, number one, very intelligent, high IQ, on and off the field, can play all 5 football positions. He's playing center. He is the master communicator. Yes. Team captain number 2. So here's a question. How weird would it be for a former Bruin? How weird would it be for a former UCLA Bruin to be a team captain? No, I'm not talking about Kyle Ford, although he'd probably be a really good team captain. But Coach Riley brought Kamari Ramsey to Big Ten Media Day. Think about that. I can totally see it happening. Totally. And it's clear, I think it should be very clear that Coach Lynn thinks really highly of Kamari Ramsey. This is what Coach Lynn had to say when we spoke to him on our Zoom call. There's a difference between being a smart person and being a smart football player. Kamari happens to be both. Some people just get ball. He's a guy who just understands ball. There's certain things that we don't need to teach him, that he just naturally gets. And I think when the players have a guy like that in the room, it's one thing when they hear it, when they hear it from us, but when they can hear it from another player, sometimes that's even better. Some of you might not be aware of it. Kamari is part of the Trojan team hype video. By the way, really well done. Go check it out. Kamari's a really good chess player. In fact, he's a great chess player. So this all makes sense. The way Coach Lynn talks about him, Coach Riley bringing him to Big Ten Media Day. Almost said Pac-12. Caught myself. I can see Kamari Ramsey being a team captain. But who else from that side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball? Is Bear Alexander a team captain? I don't know if he exudes that type of leadership quality. Don't get me wrong, great player, but you're looking for certain things in your team captains. Just go produce on the field, everyone will be fine. What about Jamil Muhammad? I think he's a candidate. He's definitely vocal. He's willing to lead by example. Can you imagine 2 transfers as team captains? I mentioned Kamari Ramsey. Jamil Muhammad technically transferred to USC. He's been part of the program now for a couple of years. But what about Easton Mascarenas-Arnold? He's going to be the starting middle linebacker. Again, a strong communicator. You need that. Is Mason Cobb team captain material? Strong communicator. He doesn't have to be the guy anymore. Last year, I think he probably felt that weight on his shoulders a little bit. There's more depth. He's being taught how to play linebacker, according to Eric Gentry. Look, if the teammates are the ones who choose, I would think, perseverance and longevity probably play a role in those votes. Is Solomon Tuliaupupu? Is Jalen Smith? Are those 2 guys team captain material? Sentimental. I would give them a vote. As a walk-on who's been moved to scholarship player, have they ever been voted team captain? Yeah, I'm going there. Is Josiah Zamora team captain? When you listen to him talk, he goes well beyond football. He's like a big brother. He's not the biggest guy either. Is Jacoby Lane ready to be a captain? What about Zachariah Branch? So what qualities make a good captain? Number one, you got to lead by example. Talked about that. It's all about attitude, actions. You got to set that tone, right? If you're not being the dude at practice, you're telling everybody else. You don't have to be the dude either. You got to have that Travis Dye type of attitude. You got to be willing to call guys out. And if you're going to call guys out, you better be able to walk the walk. You also have to be positive. Think about this. Do you like hanging around with guys who are always negative? No, you don't. You want to be around the guys who are always positive. If you see a teammate having a bad day, get over there, pick him up, put your arm around his shoulders, give him a little kick in the butt, say, hey, we're here for you. We'll help you out. Communication, obviously. But it's not just talking. You got to be able to listen. You got to hear what everybody else is saying. Feedback is critical. You also have to be able to teach leadership. How often do you hear, myself, someone in the media when we're talking to the players, hey, tell us about the younger players. Who have you taken under your wing? You got to teach the younger players how to be leaders. It's a cycle. You're only in college for 3, 4, 5, some players 6 years, some longer. But you got to be able to teach leadership as well. And obviously you got to care. You got to have some feeling. You got to wear your heart on your sleeve. Got to be passionate. Again, if you haven't seen USC's latest team hype video, it's all about us. Go check it out. It is so worth the 8 minutes of viewing. Miller Moss, he talks about caring, wanting to be there for his players in any capacity, whatever they need. That's what I'm talking about, caring. All right. I didn't do a Friday rant last week, and I'm not really going to do a Friday rant this week. I'm going to kind of encourage, so we'll call it a Friday rant. But yeah, on yesterday's episode, I talked about Pete Carroll coming back. Lincoln Riley talked about that on our Zoom call on Thursday. I guess we're going to talk about that in the next segment. When was the last time you went to a concert, comedy show, any type of live event? Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite event even easier. And Game Time Picks, it filters out the fluff, and it's only going to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching for thousands of tickets trying to find the premium, the one you want. No, Game Time does that for you. That's, for me, that's a really cool feature. So for those of you who aren't going to Las Vegas to see USC play LSU, you know what? Game Time has a Labor Day game deal for you. How about a Dodgers versus Arizona Diamondbacks Labor Day weekend game? 50% off tickets to the Dodgers at Diamondbacks game on Labor Day. The deal is exclusively on Game Time. Limited availability, so check it out while supplies last. Get your tickets while they last for this Labor Day special. And you already know how much I love that feature they have where you can see your seat before you check out. With the Game Time guarantee, you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Pete Carroll is back, folks. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I'm going to try and tie this into NIL. Right, this is where my rant kind of comes in. Lincoln Riley, Coach Lincoln Riley, he said, we're getting ready to play with a bigger NIL gun. Well, he didn't say that. I'm interpreting his words. When he got to USC, this is what he said. USC was bringing a toy sword to a gunfight when they were trying to battle for recruits. He was asked about USC's high school name, image, and likeness approach. In other words, how much are you willing to spend? This is his coach's exact words. I've talked a lot about our NIL and how it's evolved. Yeah, certainly we're about to be more aggressive with high school guys than we've ever been with it in the past. That's because our NIL has gotten a whole lot better. You don't want to be going to a gunfight with a knife. And in the beginning, we were going to a gunfight with a toy sword. So we've made a lot of progress. Those folks have done a great job. And I think some of it too, just our strategy. And I've talked about this some, just our strategy on how many high school guys we're taking, who we're taking, who we're targeting. That's changed drastically. End quote. So I'm bringing this up because Nick Brooks, that really elite 5-star offensive tackle that is announcing his pledge. Oh, today, August 23rd. So is USC going to win this battle? Right now, everybody thinks Texas is where it's leaning. Texas has big guns when it comes to NIL money. Is USC paying? Are they going to win this shootout? I guess we'll find out. Coach Riley, look, if USC has the money in place now, great. Let's pull out the biggest gun of them all to do the selling. And this isn't a knock on Coach Riley, but Pete Carroll is back, and Coach Riley is happy to have him back. Coach Riley needs to take advantage of Pete Carroll's skill set, his ability to recruit, use him, abuse him. Use every bullet in your arsenal. Coach Riley says he would love to have Coach Carroll around the program now that he's going to be teaching on campus. He said whether it's in an official or an unofficial role. Okay. He also said that they've always had an open line of communication and that he really values his knowledge and his friendship. Quote, I would love to have Carroll around the program. I'm excited he's going to be here more, and we'd be crazy not to take advantage of having him around. So whether it's in an official role or not, he's made it very clear that we've got a good open line of communication. It's one that I appreciate and respect very much, and will always never hesitate to pick up the phone and call him or reach out to him because obviously how successful he was as a coach. and he's obviously got a great knowledge of this place, USC. So I've been appreciative of his help and his friendship, and I'd be glad to have him around a lot more. Close the quote. Yeah. I want to see Pete Carroll at least once a week at practice. I mean, this is better than having a film night. Because now with an unlimited coaching staff numbers, remember, the NCAA said you can make your staff as big as you want. All right. Put Pete Carroll on staff. Put Professor Pete Carroll on the staff. Introduce him to every single recruit that walks through the door. If you see the team needs some motivation, let him talk to the team. He's been there. Like you said, he doesn't want the job. He doesn't need that job. He doesn't need to be USC's head coach anymore. But when you've got somebody who you can put in a emeritus type of status, an honorary type of status, yeah, you take advantage of that type of knowledge. So, hey, you could have Pete Carroll walking around with envelopes. It's legal now. Let Pete Carroll be the NIL spokesman. That dude knows how to sell. Yeah, that's USC's NIL game right now. That's their war chest. They've got the money, allegedly. Now they got the mouthpiece. And they got somebody they can add to that staff. Whew. Who's USC's head coach? Lincoln Riley. Who does he lean on? Pete Carroll. I just heard everyone else around college football go, oh, fudge. The F word gets used a lot around here. That's it for this episode of Locked on USC. I'll be back again next week. It's game week. I'm going to be talking a lot about LSU. Well, hey, if we get some recruiting information, I'll keep you updated as well. Again, Nick Brooks. There's some other guys out there. We'll see what happens. However, until that next episode of Locked on USC, everyone, you know what to do.